Jon Moxley is already in the ring as AEW Dynamite opens, and he has a mic in hands. As a fighting champion, I'm always prepared to go to war. Tonight is no different. Right now I'm ready to put my body through hell again. In not just your typical singles match, but in an environment I know all too well against a sick individual in Jimmy Havoc. See, here in AEW there is constant competition, and the only way to stay ahead of it, to stay on top, something MJF knows nothing about, is to continue to fight and claw. So Maxwell, you stay at home, buddy. Play your stupid little computer games, like a few Instagram posts or tweet some lame ass shit, while us real men go to work. So, some strong words from the AEW World Champion as we kick off this week's edition of AEW Dynamite. Moxley against Havoc in a hardcore match. What a way to start Dynamite this week. We're getting an 86 segment rating. The angle got the show off to a strong start. Got the crowd hotter. Moxley benefit from having that groundswell of public support. He did struggle though, going off script, which is unlike Moxley. And oh, look at that. What a start, what a match. A 79 as Moxley does overcome Jimmy Havoc in a hardcore match. Last just under 13 minutes. Moxley with a paradigm shift. And look at Jimmy Havoc with an 83 in-ring performance. That's probably because it's his type of match also. But the match did suffer for the lack of psychology. Could have really used somebody with the knowledge of how to construct a proper flow. Which is interesting, considering that Jimmy Havoc and Jon Moxley, that's what they know. So that's interesting. Looking at Chris Jericho was the road agent. The announcing work of Excalibur was weak, and obviously the psychology bit being picked up there, being penalised. But 79 overall, again, following that pattern of starting the show off strongly with a 79. We had that promo from Moxley, which got an 86. So, yeah, I'm not too fussed by that. As we transition over to the commentary desk, we see JR, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. Well, that was one hell of a way to kick things off tonight for Dynamite, and believe me, there is plenty more to come here tonight. Jon Moxley prepared to put his body through hell before he puts his title on the line against MJF at Full Gear. Speaking of titles, the Bastard Pac will be defending his TNT Championship once again tonight against Scorpio Sky. Last week we saw SCU lose to 2/3 of Death Triangle in the Lucha Brothers. This week, Scorpio Sky challenges Pac for his TNT Championship. Also, what next for Sammy Guevara? After the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jeff Cobb attacked him. And also, is Brian Cage all elite? Did he go and sign that contract that Cody laid out for him? We're going to find out. But we do roll into our next match of the evening. It's between Sarah Rowe and Zeta Zhang, and it's Sarah Rowe on a bit of a run at the moment. She picks up another win in 7:47 after a split leg moonsault. Very similar, both these competitors, with 46 and a 41 there. 46 for Sarah Rowe. I like the fact that Zeta Zhang's improving her gimmick, which is great. Arn Anderson again, the road agent, using Arn Anderson more for the women's division, see if he can help them out. And this gets a 46, and after the match, Sarah Rowe crawls over to a bowl of blood like last week, dips her fingers inside and paints 3 fingers across Zeta's face. Backstage, Britt Baker is seen watching a monitor as Sarah Rowe offers Zeta to the gods as a sacrifice by chanting again. She then smiles at the camera as if taunting Dr. Britt Baker. In another locker room, both Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida are also watching a monitor. They seem to be discussing something, but can't be heard. Of course, Tony Storm and Shida will face one another at Full Gear with the Women's Championship on the line. Both of those have a keen interest in Sarah Rowe. Seems to be on a bit of a run at the moment. Could be the next competitor for the championship. And we're backstage. Chris Jericho is standing with a mic in his hands. All week, all I've heard is, how could you, Chris? Is Sammy no longer in a circle? Listen, you idiots. I love that Spanish God. Sammy is still in a circle. What you saw last week was a wake-up call. It's what some parents would call tough love. He failed to refocus his mind, himself, so I did it for him. I also gave him a choice. Either embrace this new inner circle, or go join some stupid-ass cult. Brody Lee walks into shot with Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Jeff Cobb backs up Jericho, and Brody says, I don't take too kindly to us being called a cult, Chris. We, the Dark Order, enrich lives. Unlike yourself, you're a drain on society. Always negative. Join us and we can change that. He stares down Jericho, then Jericho shoves him away, saying, Screw you, Brody, and your stupid little cult. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson step in front of Brody, who replies, I told you not to call us a cult. And there's some pushing and shoving backstage between Jericho and the Inner Circle and the Dark Order and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson as Mr. Brody Lee walks away. We get a segment rating of 70. We did see Brody Lee have a keen eye on that street fight back at Halloween Havoc 2 weeks ago. Wonder what that could mean as we move into our next segment. JR goes on to say, earlier today we caught up with the Machine Brian Cage after he was seen entering the AEW headquarters, and he had this to say. I'm now all elite. The pain begins right now. We switch back to JR sat behind the commentary desk. So Brian Cage is now an official member of the AEW roster, and his first match is up next against both Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt. Well, Cage fought Stunt the week before Halloween Havoc and beat him in just a few minutes. Stunt wasn't happy, neither was Jungle Boy, so they will both team up and take on the Machine in a handicap match. The odds are certainly stacked against Jungle Boy and Stunt though. Yes, they have the numbers advantage, but Cage is ready to be unleashed after that hellacious match at Halloween Havoc against Cody. He is pissed, if anything. Yeah, reading that back now, I don't think you would hear Tony Schiavone saying pissed. Just doesn't fit his character, does it? But this segment gets a 54 as we move into our next match, the 2-on-1 handicap match, and it is Brian Cage that defeats Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt in 11 minutes and 2. Cage pins Stunt with a flying elbow drop. I have changed this finisher now to a drill claw, so it hasn't picked that up for this match, unfortunately. And it was Brian Cage that carried the match in terms of in-ring performance, as he got a 63. Marco Stunt, Jungle Boy, very much the same there, 32. Segment rating gets a 46. Decent little match. As we move into our next segment, it's a quick announcement which is made by Tony Khan's social media that CM Punk has agreed to come out of retirement and step into the ring once again to face Cody at Full Gear in 2 weeks' time. There will be a weigh-in, the Dynamite before Full Gear, and we will also hear from Punk next week. So there we go, CM Punk is set to step into the ring once again. I'm hoping that match at Full Gear goes well. I mean, it could go either way, couldn't it, really? Hopefully Punk picks up where he left off all them years ago. Anyway, we move into our next match between FTR and the Best Friends. It's FTR that come out on top after 17 minutes. Cash Wheeler pinning Chuck Taylor with a Goodnight Express. Good teamwork shown there from FTR. Gets a 74 overall. The announcing quality lifted the match. The crowd were buzzing. Best Friends, they've been looking for a spot on Dynamite. As we know, if you've been following AEW Dark, they've got a bit of a story going on with the Dark Order as well. If you haven't been keeping up with Dark, go ahead, go check it out. Chuck Taylor there getting penalised for low morale, so is Trent Beretta. Just because I haven't been using them, I haven't really had much for the Best Friends lately, so there we go. They've had a spot on Dynamite this week. After the match, Dax has a mic in hand and says, Hey Nick, Matt, those beers last week were just a start. This week, me and Cash have put our money together to offer you a relaxing few days at a 5-star spa and hotel. We want you boys to go, take the family, relax. We do this only because we want you 100% for Full Gear. We want you ready. We've spoken with Tony, and yeah, he wasn't too happy letting you guys have a week or so off, but he knows, he's confident that come Full Gear, we'll tear the house down. We'll both put on one of the best tag team matches the world has ever seen, so much so that the internet nerds will be giving us a 7-star rating. When the dust settles though, as expected, it'll be FTR, the best tag team in the world that stands tall. Then, we're going for those tag titles. FTR leave the ring, so they're making their intentions known, laying down what they plan to do. So first, turn up at Full Gear, beat the Young Bucks, then turn their attention to the tag team titles. And speaking of the tag team champions, our next segment includes them. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, the Private Party, the number one contenders, knock and enter into Kenny and Hangman's locker room. And it's only Kenny Omega that is inside. Hey Ken, you seen Paige? No. Why? Listen guys, who you trying to kid, huh? This right here, it's gotta stop. You're the number one contenders for our titles, for God's sake. Just before Kenny can carry on, Hangman enters and says, hey guys, you heading out? Yeah, they have nothing for us tonight, so we're leaving early. Same here, I'll tag along. Isaiah Cassidy, nah, it's probably best if you stay here with your tag partner. Private Party leave and Hangman turns to Kenny as he's like, what the hell was that? Kenny just gets up and says, I'm off to catering. Want anything? Hangman says no and Kenny leaves. We get a segment rating of 75. Again, tension still there between the tag team champions. And also Kenny Omega maybe getting in between Hangman's friendship that he's got going with Private Party as well with this segment. So it's heating things up to say the least, and these two teams will face off at Full Gear. We are backstage then with Alicia Atu. She goes on to say, with me at this time, Brian Pillman Jr. Brian, firstly, I want to say welcome to AEW, and secondly, what is it that you wish to gain with your time here? I'm aiming for the stars. I want the world and everything in it, just like every other guy that walks in here. But last week was a reality check. AEW is a brutal place. It's tough, but I know I have it in me to overcome. Last week was a bit of pill to swallow, but I got a taste of being in a championship match. I want that feeling again. I want that TNT championship. You know, people will always remember the first ever TNT champion, but they will never forget the one that beat that champion. That's going to be me. I'm challenging Pac to put his title on the line again, but this time at Full Gear in 2 weeks against me. Except if you dare, Pac. Using Pac's little catchphrase. Pac's not going to like that one. We get a 49 for this for Brian Pillman Jr. Got plenty of potential ahead of him as we move into our main event of the evening between Pac and Scorpio Sky, the TNT Championship on the line, and it is Pac that defends for the fourth time. He overcomes Scorpio Sky after a shooting star senton. There was interference as well from Rey Fenix, 1/3 of Death Triangle, so they're still making their presence known here. Gets a 77 this main event, Pac with a 72, Scorpio Sky with a 59. Could be better from him actually. Did expect better from Scorpio Sky. It was done to a hot crowd. Red Agent work from Jericho. Getting a bonus for that, which is all good to see. And after the match, Pac continues to throw punches on Scorpio Sky. He is relentless. Then Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix come out to join in. Kazarian runs out with Christopher Daniels. It's a standoff in the ring. Then a bit of pushing and shoving. Nothing too serious. Trash talk. SCU leave and Pac picks up a mic. Brian. You've just put yourself in a world of danger. You're in Death Triangle territory now, mate. See you at Full Gear. If you make it. So Pac obviously saw the challenge laid down from Brian Pillman Jr. before his match. Yeah, we had Brian Pillman use Pac's catchphrase, but Pac also saying, if you make it. That'll be interesting to see what happens. Gets a 64. have we done this week with the overall show rating? Oh, no way, 79. So last week we had an 80, this week we're getting a 79. We are absolutely killing it at the moment. Coming off that pay-per-view Halloween Havoc, heading into Full Gear in just 2 weeks' time. It's the matches that are helping it, definitely. You know, Moxley against Havoc, Sarah Rowe and Zeta Zhang, that certainly helped it. You know, 46 for the women's division. It's great to see. Brian Cage's match could have been a bit better, but FTR beating Best Friends 74. Not the strongest of Dynamite cards, but I'm really surprised by that overall rating. 79. Wonder how we've done then this week with the ratings. Let's have a look at the news then. So Shinsuke Nakamura fully fit. Of course, he's with WWE at the moment. Be interesting to see him in AEW. Imagine his bouts with Kenny Omega again in AEW. That'd be something special. Dynamite this week, feedback from viewers has been excellent. We really struck gold, whereas for NXT, drew a lot of praise. Yeah, it didn't strike gold though, did it? Which is good to see. And they've had a tag team addition. The Macho Men, Austin Theory and Killian Dane. They're going to be working together as a regular team. That's quite an interesting one. Let's go and have a look at I haven't shown this yet, the Company Wars. You can see we're still currently third. We are ahead of NXT. If we just look at the USA, we are second behind WWE. If we keep drawing in ratings like that week in, week out, 80 here, 70 there, then we'll be competing with WWE for top spot in no time. So this week we got a 1.96, slightly better from last week's. We did have a total of 1.475 mil, whereas for NXT they got a 1.93. And we've beaten them on show rating, we've beaten them on TV rating, but they have more viewers with 1.5 mil. We really do need, you know what would be really ideal? If we could get someone like Sky Sports in the UK, that would bring in so many viewers, hopefully. Aiming for that, but we need to be... I think we need to have an overall company rating of 77. We need to be hitting the big time. So that's to come at some point, hopefully. But we're just going to keep on plugging away. Keep on focusing on fantasy booking. Still enjoying this, and I hope you guys are too. That's it for this edition of AEW Dynamite. I'll see you all soon for AEW Dark.